Here is Immortal Moments for explanation. Friends, like videos and subscribes to our channel. Swallowed Star 2 Land of Origin Part 84 Explanation. So let's start our explanation. Emperor Chu was only able to cultivate a few Ultimate Realm secret techniques and refine himself into an Ultimate Realm life form with the supply of resources from the Imperial clan, but the comprehension of the complete Great Tao was still an endless road away. As for leaving the Source World to venture elsewhere, with his strength, he would be at the very bottom in those places where the mighty from billions of worlds converge, and most critically, he has no clone technique. My disciple is above the God King level? How long has he been cultivating? Emperor Chu couldn't believe it. A tremendous opportunity had landed right before him. Master, I am currently accompanying the ancestors of 2 countries. Once things here are settled properly, I will visit Master and report everything in detail, Luo Feng communicated. No hurry, Master is not in a hurry, Emperor Chu said with a grinning smile. Among the emperors and monarchs of the land of origin, besides Emperor Qing, the strongest individual was Emperor Ming. He preferred to keep to himself, and his relations with other emperors were quite ordinary. However, he regarded Luo Feng differently, and he admired these strongest individuals who had climbed up from the very bottom. During their interactions, Emperor Ming also gifted a Calamity Beast diagram, which was indeed his genuine spiritual will secret technique inheritance, aiding Luo Feng's initial will cultivation to a certain extent. Of course, Emperor Ming's path of spiritual will differed from Luo Feng's. Before their contemplation of the Great Tao, both had already surpassed the godly king level in their spiritual will, even touching the limits of the spiritual might of the land of origin. Will Luo He become the galaxy ruler? At this moment, Emperor Ming was also somewhat surprised, truly an extraordinary talent. He was slightly shocked, but quickly got used to the idea. Coming up from the bottom of a small universe, Emperor Ming had seen many formidable talents, many more outstanding than himself. Emperor Ming was in no rush, for he knew the path of cultivation was not about momentary struggles, but about the endless, long years. As long as he kept groping through the dark and moving forward, he would eventually travel further and further. Luo Feng, the ancestors of the 2 countries, Emperor Qing, and the ancestor of the East Extreme Domain, all 5 gathered together. If such achievements are made in such a short time, that would be too astonishing. Primogenitor Yang Feng looked at Luo Feng. You must surely be able to stand amongst the brightest ranks when competing against the mighties from billions of worlds outside the source world. Luo Feng smiled. Can they jump out of the braided cage? Primogenitor Yang Feng and Thunder Ancestor were both startled. Jump out of the braided cage? Suddenly, everyone fell silent. This is what every cultivator groping in the dark yearns for, yet it's also the hardest thing. Just like fish leaping through the dragon gate to become dragons, or mortals ascending to heaven to become immortals, jumping out of the braided cage signifies a complete transformation. Difficult, 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 the ancestor of East Extreme Domain spoke. Even becoming a high-level primordial life by jumping out of the braided cage is legendary. So, even if one has greater talent, what of it? Luo Feng said with a smile, there's nothing to boast about. Those with extremely high talent, at least, it's very easy for them to reach the half-primordial level, said Primogenitor Yang Feng. Like me, I have cultivated for several eras, and even now, I am only a late-stage enlightened divine emperor. I have abandoned the path of the enlightened and chosen the primordial bloodline, Thunder Ancestor added. At least for you, Luo He, walking the path of the enlightened should be relatively smooth to become half-primordial. The path of cultivation still needs to be walked step by step. Luo Feng also had a clear self-awareness. The super-secret treasure eye of life and death that he exchanged for every exchanger in history was of extremely high talent, and out of the 12 exchangers before him, only one jumped out of the braided cage to become a high-level primordial life, and also died in battle. This Luo He, with such a dazzling talent yet so humble, not the slightest bit of arrogance, Primogenitor Yang Feng sighed inwardly. Such a cultivator is the most terrifying, always advancing step by step. Luo He. Primogenitor Yang Feng had naturally watched all the detailed intelligence on Luo Feng. He said, as far as I know, within the royal family of the Flame Wind ancient country, there seems to be some conflict between you and Di Yang, Di Shi, Di Wu. Luo Feng's brow slightly furrowed, and he said, among them, Di Wu and I indeed have a grudge. She once tried to threaten me by vowing to annihilate all the disciples of my Blade River sect. Fortunately, my master, Emperor Chu, helped to block her at that time. The character of Di Wu is indeed brutal and ruthless. Primogenitor Yang Feng nodded. Even against her own kin, she is excessively cruel, and she even ambushed your master, Emperor Chu, causing Emperor Chu to fall into the polluted blood river. Emperor Chu was about to be contaminated to the brink of death within the polluted blood river, but by sheer luck, obtained an innate secret treasure, thereby escaping from the polluted blood river and surviving. Luo He, my brother, what do you think should be done about these three? Primogenitor Yang Feng said. Since there's a feud, just kill them all, Thunder Ancestor said from the side. Luo Feng said, Di Wu deserves death, as for the other two. Luo Feng, Primogenitor Yang Feng, Thunder Ancestor, the ancestor of the East Extreme Domain, and Emperor Qing, all five looked surprised and gazed far towards a place in the Land of Origin where the teleportation channel of the Land of Origin was located. Di Wu is arrogant and has always thought highly of herself, employing harsh methods all along, often going against her own kin, and the ancestors didn't care much. She thought the little clash with Luo He was trivial. Di Wu doesn't understand, in the eyes of the ancestors of the two countries, we are all but ants. Di Shi is too fearful of the world outside the source world. With such a disposition, even if he went out to venture far in the future, he wouldn't get far. Let it be. After making up his mind, Di Yang didn't hesitate any longer. Whiz! A rainbow light, almost in the blink of an eye, crossed over a large half of the Land of Origin and arrived at the location of the teleportation channel. The teleportation channel of the Land of Origin was located deep within the Tianji ice field, where everything was made of ice, in an ice valley crafted from ice, sheltered by a formation, incredibly stable. Within the ice valley was a dark, deep pool. Beside the murky deep pool sat a figure cross-legged, an avatar of Di Fu. He had been waiting patiently, waiting for Luo He to depart. Di Fu looked on in surprise. Only to see a flash of rainbow light in the sky, a figure had arrived in the ice valley. It was none other than Di Yang. Di Yang? Di Fu puzzled, you're here. Di Yang glanced at him, said not a word, and directly leaped into that dark and deep pool. The luminescence flowed within the dark deep pool, and Di Yang had already been transported out of the Land of Origin to beyond the source world. He left? Di Fu realized, this Di Yang is indeed decisive in his actions. He must have detected Luo He's identity. He didn't even bring his two companions, just slipped away on his own. This is very much in line with Di Yang's way of doing things. Ruthless to the enemy. Equally ruthless to himself. Luo Feng and his group of five would not usually care about the whereabouts of the countless creatures within the Land of Origin, but they were drawn to attention when a creature entered the transmission channel. Di Yang has entered the transmission channel. Luo Feng saw from afar the light rippling from the dark deep pool within the ice valley, knowing Di Yang had made his escape. He escaped really fast. Thunder Ancestor remarked with a laugh beside him, Brother Flame Wind, this Di Yang is quite sensitive, detecting a whiff of danger and not hesitating to slip away. Luo Feng said, Di Wu deserves to die, but as for Di Yang and Di Shi, the two of them only have some minor quarrels with me. Just expel them from the Land of Origin ahead of time. Although the two of them held a deep enmity with Emperor Guishu like a blood sea, with countless grievances on the Land of Origin, Luo Feng did not want to meddle too much. Great sinners, he will not tolerate. As for any other grievances? Let those involved in the grievances fight it out themselves. Brother Luo He. Primogenitor Yang Feng said with a smile, you're still too benevolent. If they offended you, they deserve to die. No sooner had he spoke. An invisible wind brushed past, penetrating the bodies of Di Wu and Di Shi. Although Di Wu had many avatars, in this moment all were brushed by this invisible wind. The wind swept through her physical body and soul, causing Di Wu to naturally dissipate into nothingness, vanishing between heaven and earth. No. The very moment Di Wu was brushed by the invisible wind, she understood who was making the move. She understood then. In the past, the ancestor indulged her behavior simply because he paid no mind to the various conflicts on the Land of Origin. For the ancestor, across several eons, he fostered countless kins. What feelings could the ancestor have for these kins? The ancestor placed more importance on the entire kin group as a whole. As for individuals, erased just like that. It's all because of that Luo He. Di Wu understood her cause of death. Her only conflict with Luo He was the threat she once made. If he hadn't agreed, she would have annihilated the entire Blade River sect and all its disciples. Once, she thought it was a trifle, for she had done much worse, having truly annihilated the full lineage of some godly kings, all creatures in an entire city, and so forth. Against Luo He, it was merely a threat, not enacted for real. I should have left. Di Wu regretted at that moment, regretting she didn't leave with Di Yang, but it was already too late. Her consciousness plunged into darkness. She was dead. Following Di Yuan, White Demon, and Lan Duo, another emperor has died. Why? When Di Shi was brushed by the invisible wind, she felt only immense anger. Although she had followed Di Yang and Di Wu in taking action many times and had many enemies, her enmity with Luo He was not that extensive. Why did Luo He still not spare her? Why did the ancestor carry out her execution? This Luo He is too ruthless. The ancestor is also standing with him. Filled with indignation and anger, Di Shi's consciousness also fell into darkness. Another emperor had died. From then on, with the successive deaths of Di Yuan, White Demon, Lan Duo, Di Wu, and Di Shi, a total of 5 emperor-level monarchs on the land of origin passed away, sending chills down the spines of the other forces on the continent, making them even less likely to defy the rules set by the galaxy ruler. With both ancient country ancestors standing with the galaxy ruler, who could resist? Just squash them like bugs, said primogenitor Yang Feng with a casual laugh. Luo Feng also came to see that these ancient existences of the two countries, having lived for so long and experienced countless battles beyond the source world, killing two little fellows meant nothing to them. Life rises and falls, they've already lived much longer, lived better, lived more recklessly compared to the countless creatures of the land of origin, said primogenitor Yang Feng. Now fate, with my hand, has merely returned them to the essence of the land of origin. Brother Luo He. Emperor Qing spoke from the side. The clone you displayed this time seems extraordinary. Has your secret technique seen fruition? Yes, nodded Luo Feng, my secret technique is finally complete. Preparing to head beyond the source world? Emperor Qing's eyes lit up. He had been waiting for this companion. Luo Feng nodded. Once the matters of the land of origin are settled, I estimate I will depart within a few eras. How many eras? Emperor Qing's face lit up with joy. When you set off, just send a message. Okay, Luo Feng nodded. The 5 present lost interest and quickly dispersed. Aside from Luo Feng, the other 4 mainly ventured outside the source world. At this moment in Huyang City, countless cultivators inside the city were in shock, staring at the gigantic claw lifting the whole city, with each of the 5 claws stretching out like 5 continuous mountain ranges. What in the world is going on? How did Huyang City start flying? The cultivators in the city, including the disciples of Blade River sect, were both shocked and bewildered. The godly kings of the land of origin could guess some of the truth, but ordinary disciples of Blade River sect had little understanding of the godly king tier, only knowing that their sect master, Luo He God King, was a very powerful entity in the land of origin, yet not as much as the emperors and monarchs of the 2 ancient countries. Whoosh! Inside the grand hall of the Blade River sect headquarters, the high-level members all gathered. Sect Master. Master. Luo Feng sat in the main seat, with Morosa and others seated beside him, followed by standing figures such as Mulyu Qingyang, Xin Yu, other Primal Chaos Realm elders, guest elders, and then a group of registered disciples. I've called everyone here today to announce a few matters, Luo Feng said with a smile. First, the enormous claws appearing outside are a secret treasure I refined, the palm world, isolated from the external world and causality, even the ultimate realm of God King cannot pry into it. Even the ultimate realm cannot pry into it. The hall was filled with the Blade River sect's upper echelon, and they all realized the terrifying implication of this statement. The second matter, Elder Luo Sa, is actually a pinnacle sector beast, possessing the strength of the ultimate realm of God King, Luo Feng continued. Eh? Many disciples in the hall were utterly baffled. The second master is a sector beast. Mu Qingyang also stared at Morosa, unable to believe that his second master he met in Huyang City, who was always eating, drinking, and incessantly teaching him cultivation, could exist at the ultimate realm of God King. Morosa blinked at Mu Qingyang and then glanced around the hall with a smile. I, Morosa, can finally freely display my strength. The third matter, Luo Feng said, I have another identity, that is the galaxy ruler. Everyone in the great hall was stunned. Yuan was still calm, but the other elders and disciples were bewildered. He who set the rules of the land of origin, and even caused several emperors and monarchs of the two ancient countries to perish, the galaxy ruler? Is my master. Mu Qingyang, Xin Yu, and many registered disciples felt their hearts tremble. Who is the galaxy ruler? The highest entities on the land of origin today are the three entities, primogenitor Yang Feng, Thunder Ancestor, Ancestral God of the Galaxy. Yes, the countless cultivators of the land of origin now refer to the galaxy ruler as Ancestral God of the Galaxy, looking up to and venerating this Ancestral God of the Galaxy, who eliminated the threat of the great sinners. For weaker cultivators, the threat of the great sinners was immense. Living normally, one day, the entire tribe could be raided and devoured, or even entire cities swallowed. This randomness of super disasters was what many cultivators feared. In the past, they could only endure, deeming it bad fate upon encountering. But the ancestral God of the galaxy set the rules that eradicated this disaster, fundamentally changing the fates of countless creatures and naturally earning the gratitude of many. From now on, the territories governed by the Galaxy Divine Country, including the territory of Blade River Sect, will expand to encompass 1,019 primal chaos prefectures, Luo Feng said. Ever since he could stand shoulder to shoulder with the ancestors of the two countries, small countries around the Galaxy Divine Country also voluntarily pledged allegiance, expanding the territorial range of the Galaxy Divine Country. Further adding Blade River Sect's 155 primal chaos prefectures, officially breaking through 1,000 primal chaos prefectures. In all the primal chaos prefectures within the territory of the Galaxy Divine Country, Blade River Sect will set up branches, Luo Feng continued. The high-level members of Blade River Sect present realized Blade River Sect might become the #1 sect on the land of origin. Like the two ancient countries, the core ruling power is the royal family. But within the Galaxy Divine Country, Luo Feng doesn't have a vast imperial clan lineage, instead, he's fully cultivating the disciples of Blade River Sect. Without a doubt, the numerous disciples of Blade River Sect are the core force governing the vast territories of the Galaxy Divine Country. Blade River Sect's future status might rival that of the royal families of the two ancient countries. The news I share today does not need to be kept secret and can be told to all disciples within the sect, Luo Feng said with a smile. Yes, everyone in the hall responded. Luo Feng then stood up, moving forward. The affairs of the Galaxy Divine Country and Blade River Sect are mainly overseen by the Ancestral God and Morosa. After speaking, Luo Feng stepped away and disappeared. Only then did the Great Hall relax. Second Master. Mu Qingyang immediately approached Morosa. Father earlier spoke about Morosa. Morosa, Luo Sa are my names. I have been cautious in my actions to keep my sector beast identity secret, Morosa said with smiling eyes at Mu Qingyang. Look at you, personally taught by a sector beast, yet cultivation is still so difficult for you. Mu Qingyang now understood the incredible opportunity he had encountered. Great Master. Galaxy Ruler, one of today's highest entities on the land of origin. Second Master, Pinnacle Sector Beast. Being valued by Master, taught by Second Master, is my greatest fortune, Mu Qingyang said. You should thank your father. When my master and I came to the land of origin through the cycles of reincarnation, the first cultivator we met was your father Mu Hu, Morosa chuckled. Of course, among Mu Hu's 3 children, Luo Feng chose Mu Qingyang. Luo Feng arrived in Chu capital, paid a visit to his master Emperor Chu, and described some secrets from these past 1500 eras. Chu capital, Marquis Chu Yu's mansion. I won't see anyone. Emperor Chu Yu stood in the hall and scolded, no matter who comes to visit, refuse them all. Yes. The butler cheerily responded, immediately rushing out. Father, is uncle really the galaxy ruler? In the hall, the three youths were all extremely excited, and a dignified woman beside them was even more thrilled. Emperor Chu turned his head to his three sons. This information has been confirmed by Flame Wind Pavilion. All disciples of Blade River sect have spread the word, so it's certainly true. Father, have you contacted Uncle? The oldest son asked. Quiet. Emperor Chu scolded. Today must be your uncle's busiest day. With his identity revealed, he must have many matters to tend to. Let's not disturb him. Also, remember, I am merely a good friend of Brother Luo. You must not behave recklessly on this basis. If you bring disaster, no need for the Imperial clan to punish, I will take action myself. Emperor Chu admonished. He knew the temperaments of his three children. Their father being an Imperial Marquis from the royal family, they usually lived carefree. Now knowing that their uncle was the ancestral god of the galaxy, wouldn't they turn heaven and earth upside down? What your father said is right, you must not bring disaster upon us, the dignified woman also spoke. Although I have a relationship of affection with Brother Luo, such affection is ultimately limited and can be exhausted. Emperor Chu said to his three sons, I certainly do not wish for your trivial matters to deplete the affection between me and Brother Luo. Father, rest assured. We understand, both three sons obediently replied. Emperor Chu also felt helpless. Although he was talented within the royal family, his sons were rather mediocre. Emperor Chu pondered. The hierarchies within the Flame Wind ancient country's royal family were strict. Emperors, godly kings, royal marquises, and even among the marquises, he wasn't equal to those transcenders of primal chaos realm. But now it was different. Who didn't know that he and the galaxy ruler were like brothers in life and death, the galaxy ruler being the first guest elder he had recruited. With this bond, even the emperors within the Flame Wind ancient country's royal family had to regard him seriously. Overwhelming wealth and honor are coming. I must remain steady, Emperor Chu silently said. Not only must he himself remain steady, but he also had to watch over his three sons and wife, keeping an eye on the family. Emperor Chu sat leisurely drinking in the cave mansion. Back then, giving Luo a guest elder spot, Luo also owed me a favor. This favor, its value must have increased manifold by now. Emperor Chu poured himself another drink. No hurry, no hurry. It's only been over a millennium, and the value of this favor has already become so high. If it were tens of millennia, hundreds of millennia, the value of the favor would probably be different again. Emperor Chu had never thought of using this favor. He was very patient. He would not use this favor unless it was absolutely necessary. He understood that the value of this favor would only continue to soar. Even now, thinking about getting a favor owed by the galaxy ruler, how difficult would that be? Even if it were a secret treasure above the godly king, the galaxy ruler wouldn't want to owe a favor, would he? Luo Feng announced the news to all disciples of the Blade River sect, and also did not keep it secret, so naturally, the news quickly spread across the entire land of origin. God kings of Yu Kingdom, members of the Reincarnation Tower, and others all sighed. In Flame Wind ancient country, Windjong City. That idiot Zhong Yunj, that fool, even with the best of temperaments, Wind Chapter God King couldn't help but curse now, a huge opportunity, and it was ruined by her. Her two mentors, one is the galaxy ruler, and the other is a pinnacle sector beast at the ultimate realm of God King. How did she mess this up? Wind Chapter God King was frantic with irritation. Just a small opportunity slipping through the fingers of those two figures could benefit him, the first realm godly king, immensely. But now, all was lost. Passed down the order, Wind Chapter God King was very displeased. Feeling suffocated, he immediately ordered, completely expel Zhong Yun's lineage from the family. Erase them all from the family records. At this moment, he didn't want that lineage to share any benefits linked to him being a godly king. That foolish lineage didn't deserve to enjoy any benefits of the royal family. Zhong Yun's lineage still housed over a dozen eternal true gods, numerous true gods of void space, and true gods. This lineage had long been marginalized, relocated to a common small city within the territory of Flame Wind ancient country, becoming the ruling family of this ordinary small town. What? Expelled from the family? Names removed from the family records? Impossible. The descendants of this lineage were all in panic. Without the protection of the royal family, they would only have themselves to rely on. Perhaps the more than 10 eternal true gods could still live comfortably, but the lives of other members would be far less leisurely. Yunj, we have been expelled from the family. These descendants here are just true gods of the void and even weaker true gods. Zhong's father brought a group of descendants to find Zhong Yunj. Zhong Yunj, in seclusion, looked at the tens of thousands of descendants brought by her father in a daze. Father, what happened? How were we expelled from the family? Zhong Yunj asked. You still aren't aware. Her father looked at his daughter. The second mentor of Mulyu Qingyang, Elder Luo Sa, is actually a pinnacle sector beast at the ultimate realm of God King. Her mentor Luo He God King is even the galaxy ruler. Zhong Yunj listened in a daze. Seeing this, Zhong's father sighed. I will lead tens of thousands of descendants to relocate. The rest of the descendants will be left to you. After all, as a disciple of the God King and having had a relationship with Mulyu Qingyang, they are safer with you. Even if separated, because of the past relationship, Zhong Yunj's place was actually quite safe. Even the most evil ancient existences would have to consider carefully. I understand, Zhong Yunj nodded, feeling a bit overwhelmed looking at the tens of thousands of descendants. Mulyu Qingyang's great master and second mentor, are they the galaxy ruler and pinnacle sector beast? Zhong Yunj felt as if everything was like a dream. She had once followed Mulyu Qingyang to meet Luo Feng and also Morosa, but at the time had not realized anything extraordinary. On an island at the heart of a lake in the infinite space treasure trove, Luo Feng sat cross-legged on the grass, pondering. The path of life has reached the ultimate, yet the path of destruction is still lacking. With the help of materials from primordial life at the ultimate realm, his strength could be substantially enhanced, thus naturally most of his focus was on the path of life. Moreover, with the assistance of those life materials, understanding the path of life became smoother. The path of destruction, on the other hand, might be worth looking into. This perfection-level inheritance. Luo Feng checked the inheritances in the infinite space treasure vault. Perfection-level inheritance should be helpful for cultivation. 9 realms of extinction, the perfection-level inheritance of the great Tao of destruction. The first realm only requires 100 reward points to exchange. The second and third realms, 10,000 reward points each. Just to begin, a spiritual will beyond God King level is needed to attempt cultivation. It's just 100 reward points. Let's exchange for the first realm and give it a try. Luo Feng was full of curiosity about the perfection-level inheritance, wondering just how powerful an inheritance had to be to dare claim perfection. With just a thought from Luo Feng, the exchange was made, and the reward points decreased slightly, to 64,093.03. Buzz! A flood of information poured into Luo Feng's mind. 9 realms of extinction. First realm, Peeping Realm. In this realm, one can peek into destruction memories branded on the great Tao of destruction of the origin world. Once all destruction memories are peered into, while still maintaining sanity, the first realm is then considered mastered. Reminder, only attempt if possessing a will beyond God King level. Otherwise, you will be assimilated by the great Tao of destruction origin. Reminder, even with a strong will, one might still fall into insanity during the peek into the branded destruction memories, becoming utterly mad. Cultivators need to control the pace of peeping, and not be overly hasty. What followed was detailed cultivation methods. Luo Feng was somewhat stunned. What is this? The entire inheritance, without any detailed guidance on any branch of the great Tao of destruction? Just having me peek into the memories branded on the Tao of destruction? Luo Feng was somewhat baffled. He himself didn't even know that destruction memories were branded on the great Tao of destruction. Luo Feng carefully studied the detailed cultivation content of this first realm. This realm was merely about peeking. It was more for heart honing. Because even a will beyond God King level could go insane, one needed to control the pace. Heart honing? Even if it's just a method for heart honing, it's worth the 100 reward points, Luo Feng thought. Luo Feng from the land of origin. Suddenly, a voice rang out. Luo Feng jerked, turning to look. Stood about 10 odd paces away was an elder, watching Luo Feng with a smiling gaze. How could this be? With my spiritual will, how could a cultivator get close to me without my noticing? Even now, I sense nothing but void with my spiritual will. Luo Feng couldn't believe it. His eyes clearly saw, but other senses detected nothing. My name is Yuan, the elder said with a smile. I created this space. Senior Yuan, Luo Feng immediately realized who the visitor was, and bowed respectfully. Luo Feng pays his respects to Senior Yuan. In the Origin Continent Origin world, anyone who achieved the ultimate realm had received benefits from Senior Yuan. Various treasure locations, remnants of special life forms, secret techniques, and more, were all left behind by Yuan. You indeed have the courage to exchange for this 9 realms of extinction, the elder laughed. This inheritance is only opened for exchange up to the first 5 realms for those at the Divine King stage. Even then, despite many talented cultivators attempting it over countless years, none have succeeded in mastering it. The most successful one only managed to cultivate up to the 4th realm. There were quite a few who went mad or became demons. The elder shook his head. My friend who created it was insane. He created all 9 realms with the belief that once mastered, one would at least escape the braided cage and become a world-level primordial life. But his inheritance isn't suitable for cultivation. I am here to see you because I meet every ultimate realm being. Yuan looked at Luo Feng. To become an ultimate realm being in the Origin world, each and every one is a promising seed. Only upon meeting you did I discover that the 9-layered little tower had actually ended up in your hands. The 9-layered little tower, the Star Tower. Luo Feng guessed. You call it the Star Tower? Yes, I forged it. Yuan nodded. In the past, we joined forces to kill a primordial ancestor, and that primordial ancestor's body had 3 blood-colored scales. I threw one inside the little tower and simply forged it, making the little tower a vessel for the blood-colored scale. In fact, that blood-colored scale remains intact, hidden deep within the tower. Even with my strength, I cannot wear it down, only barely use it. Yuan sighed with a smile. We generally leave materials from primordial ancestor bodies to the most dazzling and talented group of cultivators. But among them, the ones who could escape the braided cage, are still too few. So, I thought of nurturing some youngsters among the weakest cultivators. That's why there's the little tower, which went to that primordial cosmos, searching among countless creatures for its owner. To become its owner even during your weakest, you've already proven to be exceptional. Rarely did Yuan speak so much. After all, this ultimate realm being was somewhat more outstanding than usual. And had even received an artifact much earlier on. Thank you, Senior Yuan. Luo Feng now fully understood that strictly speaking, the Star Tower was actually forged by Senior Yuan. Is there anything you wish to ask? Said Yuan. Whatever I can advise you on, I will try my best to guide. Luo Feng was well aware of how rare this opportunity was. Even with exceptional talent, this might be the only chance to meet Yuan. Senior Yuan, Luo Feng said respectfully, I wish to break out of the braided cage. How should I pursue my cultivation in the future? Please advise me. This is what many cultivators want to know. Yuan nodded. My infinite space treasure trove holds all the perfection level inheritances, all created by beings of the same level as me. All the special grade inheritances are created by world-level primordial life. So the exchange of these 2 kinds of inheritance is limited only to godly king level. Yuan looked at Luo Feng. Do you know why you can't exchange for the subsequent ones? Luo Feng listened. We used to release some subsequent inheritances, but the subsequent inheritances had too great of an influence on cultivators, even affecting their own exploration of the path, Yuan said. The path of the great Tao is such, those who learn from me live, and those who imitate me perish. Everyone who breaks out of the braided cage is unique. To blindly imitate is to walk the path to death, Yuan said. After realizing this, we restricted the exchange of subsequent inheritances. It is limited only to Divine King stage. Luo Feng understood. Senior Yuan and those world-level primordial life beings are of too high a realm. The inheritances they created were too perfect, successors following these inheritances would naturally be influenced by them. There are some inheritances in the infinite space treasure vault that can directly lead to the half-primordial level, Yuan said. The creators of those inheritances themselves did not succeed, the inheritance is still rough, yet the intention is extremely lofty. If subsequent cultivators can perfect this intention on their own, they have hopes of breaking out of the braided cage. Luo Feng realized that the 8 Tribulations life form was recorded in the treasure trove. However, this is still slightly influenced by the pioneers, Yuan said. The best method is to completely grope in the dark by oneself. In the dark, one could lose their direction, right? Luo Feng asked. This was also the biggest obstacle after surpassing the Godly King level. That's why you all can obtain special life remnants, Yuan said. Special life remnants are world-level primordial life remnants. The mysteries contained are at the world-level primordial tier. These remnants are like a lamp in the far reaches of the dark. Move towards that lamp. Even if the light is dim and you may wander in the dark, the ultimate destination is that lamp. Yuan looked at Luo Feng. Your chance is even better. Your 9-layered tower contains a piece of blood scale from a primordial ancestor. You may hope to go even further in the dark. Luo Feng nodded slightly. The remnants of world-level primordial life can be obtained by killing just one, and can be split into billions, Yuan said. We can make it so that any cultivator at the ultimate realm in the source world can get at least one. But primordial ancestor-level remnants are much rarer. So it's much harder to obtain them, Yuan said. Once you go beyond the source world, you will understand. So, value that star tower. Luo Feng nodded. A single special life remnant could fetch an extremely high price in the outside world. What would be the price of primordial ancestor-level remnants? How intense would the competition be? This perfection level, 9 realms of extinction, inheritance, you may exchange up to the first 3 realms only. Any more would not be meaningful, Yuan said. It's unnecessary to exchange for other inheritances. You should explore and create your own inheritance to go further. Accumulate reward points. The more points you have, the more precious treasures you can exchange, Yuan smiled. I've said all that needs to be said. From here on, it's up to you to walk your path. After saying this, Yuan disappeared into thin air. Luo Feng immediately bowed. Thank you, Senior Yuan. Yuan's visit this time was purely casting a wide net, treating every ultimate realm being in the source world the same. At least for now, Yuan did not see Luo Feng as particularly outstanding. Among the many source worlds, among billions of worlds, and throughout the long river of endless years, Yuan has seen many who were more dazzling than Luo Feng at this moment. But how many of them can break out of the braided cage? Let's follow what Senior Yuan said in exchange for the first 3 realms of 9 realms of extinction. Luo Feng decided after the exchange and did not use any more reward points, choosing to save them for now. This encounter with Yuan confirmed to Luo Feng that the other inheritances in the infinite space treasure vault were of little significance. The biggest gain was knowing the origin of the Star Tower. Within Huyang City, Luo Feng looked at the Star Tower in his hand. This blood-colored scale is perfectly intact, hidden deep within the Star Tower. Even Senior Yuan and the others can't erase it. He had previously thought that the blood-colored scale with 12 colored edges was the manifestation of the convergence of rule mysteries. It turns out that it was so powerful that even Yuan and the others could not erase it. According to Senior Yuan, the mystery of the Star Tower blood-colored scale is even more profound. In the dark, I should focus on it for my cultivation, Luo Feng realized. The other special life remnants were secondary. I also don't know if I can break out of the braided cage, Luo Feng thought. Galaxy Divine Country, capital. Come, pour the wine. Guishu, why is the wine gone? Black Fire Demon Lord shouted. I earned great merit last time. It was really hard to exchange for 3 jars of fine wine. You guys drank an entire jar in no time. Emperor Guishu was reluctant. These are fine wines crafted from some rare treasures in the dream domain. Don't be stingy, quickly bring it out. Wuxin God King urged from the side. Cloud Sky God King watched the scene with a smile. The wine is good. Great Freedom Sovereign also sighed contentedly. All right, at worst, we'll drink it all today. Emperor Guishu could only reluctantly take out another jar of fine wine, and Wuxin God King was the first to grab it and began pouring the wine. The members of the Reincarnation Tower used to keep a low profile in their actions, but ever since the Galaxy Divine Country was established, they kept coming to join. Especially after Luo Feng's identity was officially revealed recently, even the Black Fire Demon Lord came forward willingly. Having always hidden in the dark, who doesn't wish to live openly and freely? In the capital of the Galaxy Divine Country, even if given 10 guts, those emperors and monarchs wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Tell me, how did Wind City have such sharp insight, inviting the ruler to join our Reincarnation Tower when he was still in the Primal Chaos Realm? Black Fire Demon Lord sighed. The ruler's rise is rapid, once only in the Primal Chaos Realm, now he's one of the pinnacle existences in the Land of Origin. Wuxin God King also sighed, now not daring to call him by name, but respectfully calling him ruler. With such a significant gap in status, one naturally feels reverent. The ruler avenged me, Di Wu and Di Shi are both dead, and even Di Yang escaped outside the Land of Origin, not able to live long. Emperor Guishu drank his wine. I never dreamed I could kill an emperor. The days when the two imperial clans ruled everything are over. Wuxin God King also felt relieved. The two imperial clans now act more cautiously and less tyrannically. The idle god kings on the Land of Origin feel much better. Emperor Yuan, White Demon, Lan Duo, Di Wu, Di Shi, a total of 5 emperors and monarchs have died successively, having a profound impact on the Land of Origin. At least the two major imperial clans are somewhat intimidated, acting more carefully. Back then, Luo he killed me, and it took him 2 or 3 breaths. I still had time to use a reincarnation secret technique. Emperor Yuan said in a restaurant, but the emperors and monarchs afterward, it said they didn't even have time to reincarnate. I, labeled as the greatest sinner of the Land of Origin, instead benefited. Emperor Yuan chuckled. Oh well, though I can't return to the imperial clan and can't cultivate the ultimate realm life form, thought Emperor Yuan, but I have also shed many causal ties, allowing me to dedicate myself more deeply to cultivation. Perhaps I might comprehend the great Tao. Emperor Yuan, once wantonly sinful, was the most reckless among the many emperors and monarchs, but with Luo Feng's rise, he dared no longer. Di Wu and Di Shi are dead, and Di Yang has no reason to live, thought Emperor Yuan, unless he escaped. Di Yang is always so slippery. Emperor Yuan shook his head slightly. Having spent long years with Di Yang, he somewhat looked down on Di Yang, living long, with many resources, but his realm remained mediocre. But one must admit one thing, Di Yang's instincts are very keen. His tactics are also impressive. Among the emperors of Flame Wind Ancient Country, Di Yang's strength isn't considered strong, but he is the only one who can unite other emperors, and the resources and benefits he gains are more than those like Di Fu and Emperor Ming. Even now, with Di Wu and Di Shi dead, Di Yang still survives. In a common large city, an ordinary eternal true god was browsing the intelligence of the Flame Wind Pavilion. Luo he is the galaxy ruler? This eternal true god couldn't believe it. The first time I noticed him, he was just an eternal true god. That eternal true god once within Huyang City now stands shoulder to shoulder with the ancestors of the two countries. Fortunately, I reincarnated fast enough. Marquis Liu Yin felt a bit lucky. He didn't even rush to break through, remaining at the eternal true god stage after reincarnation. With his realm, even as an eternal true god in a common large city, no one could rival him. I must be careful. Once I reach the Primal Chaos Realm, there are so few in the Primal Chaos Realm on the Land of Origin, it's easy to catch the galaxy ruler's attention. Eternal true gods, there are countless on the Land of Origin. It's much safer. Marquis Liu Yin feared that his rise was too terrifying. He didn't wish to be observed by the galaxy ruler. He feared accidentally showing his track somewhere. If suspected, with the means of the current galaxy ruler, he might forcibly read his memory. The best method is to keep the galaxy ruler from paying attention to him. I was quite impressive too, to provoke the galaxy ruler during his weaker days, thought Marquis Liu Yin, and then stopped dwelling on it, continuing to enjoy his life as an eternal true god in this common large city. In my homeland, the illustrious ancestral god of the galaxy now stands alongside the ancestors of the two nations on the Land of Origin. East Emperor gleaned from the intelligence, also somewhat emotional. The the so-called East Emperor ancestor, still received a legacy and resources from Luo Feng. Only then could I make the crucial step to reaching the eternal true God level. Lacking resources, becoming an eternal true God was exceedingly difficult. For many from the human clan who braved the reincarnation tower to arrive at the land of origin, even with the most supreme resources supporting them, the vast majority only remained at the true God of void space level. According to Luo Feng, Purple Moon should have died long ago. East Emperor also felt emotional. He believed it too, considering the ancestral god of the galaxy's judgment of causality, confirming Purple Moon's death meant true death. In a flash, 3 epochs had passed. The 9 realms of extinction are too extreme, too insane. However, they do assist in the comprehension of the great Tao of destruction origin. Luo Feng stayed sane during his contemplation. His accumulation on the destruction path was already profound, having comprehended multiple ultimate realm secret techniques, and he even had an avatar from the destruction demon clan. Moreover, he had merged the great Tao of life and death, which easily resolved some dangerous situations during the 9 realms of extinction training regime. Although I dislike such madness, it has made me understand what the destruction path at the primordial level is like. As a perfection level inheritance, there were absolutely no explanations regarding the comprehension of many great Taos. It was assumed that such fundamental comprehension would be easily understood. The first realm, Peeping Realm, is about probing the imprinted memories of great Tao of destruction in the source world. These imprinted memories are actually the most intense memories of destruction throughout the entire protracted history of the source world. There are scenes of great destructions of the source world itself, again and again scenarios of the sector beasts causing world destruction, again and again scenarios of cultivators actively destroying worlds, and even higher level destruction scenes recorded within the primordial space of the source world. The depth of these imprinted memories varied. The deeper the memory, the more terrifying it was. Some memories of destruction even had strong contamination that could twist the spirit. Luo Feng, upon witnessing some higher-level destruction scenes, felt his soul tremble. The first realm begins with giving the cultivator a vague impression of the destruction path at the primordial level. The so-called Peeping Realm is about glimpsing the Tao at the primordial level. Luo Feng also understood how ambitious the creator was, clearly hoping that the descendants could leap out of the braided cage with the help of the 9 realms of extinction, a perfection-level inheritance, or at the very least, become a world-level primordial life. Of course, the outcome has been proven. Such a terrifying inheritance instead affected the descendants' paths of innovation. Hence, the infinite space now only retains the exchange for the first 5 realms. My strength is progressing slowly, and I'm lacking in resources. It's time to venture beyond the source world. Luo Feng looked outside. Even the primordial crystals, the ordinary supplementary items he regularly consumed, Luo Feng could no longer afford. Ever since his life form reached the strength of the early stage of a divine emperor, each epoch he could consume 300 primordial crystals. Such an expense, how could he afford it? Lately, he had been cultivating without using any treasures, which indeed had reduced the efficiency a lot. With one step, Luo Feng left Huyang City and arrived at the palace of Emperor Chu in Chu capital. Inside the palace of Emperor Chu. Master. Luo Feng saw his master, Emperor Chu. Luo Feng? Emperor Chu looked at his disciple with a smile. Are you ready to set off? Yes. Luo Feng nodded. Out there beyond the source world, I can encounter the wisdom of powerhouses from countless worlds, clash with other strong beings. There are also more abundant resources, all of which will smooth my cultivation process significantly. Master, are you sure you don't want to go together? I'd rather not. Emperor Chu shook his head. Out in the source world, my strength would be at the bottom tier. Going out would only drag you down. I plan to cultivate until I'm close to extinction on the land of origin, and then go out and venture. Emperor Chu laughed heartily. Even if I die out there, it would not be in vain. Luo Feng didn't persuade him further. His own strength was merely at the early stage of a divine emperor, and even at the beginning of his journey, his weapon secret treasures were inferior to many powerhouses from the outside worlds. At this time, he could not help his master with anything. You go ahead and make your mark. By then, your master might even need your protection. Emperor Chu said with a laugh. Yes. Luo Feng nodded, then, I shall take my leave. Go, concentrate on your cultivation, and don't think too much, encouraged Emperor Chu. Luo Feng visited the primordial ancestor, primal chaos city lord, and Morosa. I'll venture beyond the source world. Of course, I still have an avatar that will continue to stay in the land of origin, Luo Feng said, it's just that my adventuring outside requires more focus. The avatar within the land of origin will generally be in closed-door cultivation. If important matters arise, you three can send messages to me. I will receive your messages. Others, during the closed-door period, I will ignore them, Luo Feng stated. Primordial ancestor, teachers. The Galaxy Divine Country and Blade River sect will mainly rely on you, Luo Feng instructed. Morosa has a somewhat unruly nature, he still needs both of you to keep him in check. I'm very obedient, Morosa retorted with widened eyes. Don't worry, leave it to us, the primordial ancestor and primal chaos city lord nodded. Luo Feng looked at Morosa with a smile that was not quite a smile. Secluding himself from affairs, if it weren't for the primordial ancestor and the primal chaos city lord supervising, who knows what trouble Morosa could cause. I am entering seclusion. Luo Feng's avatar immediately turned around, walking deep into the cave mansion to the quiet room, entering the Star Tower. This was also the norm for the ancestors from both countries, and the East Extreme Domain ancestor, Emperor Qing, and the other three. Most of the time, they were in seclusion. At certain times, they would leave seclusion to relax. Woo! Woo! The figures of Luo Feng and Emperor Qing streaked across the sky, flying towards a secluded spot in the Tianji ice field, where there was a valley forged from ice. Within the ice valley, there was a dark and deep pool. This dark pool was the transfer passage of the land of origin. Luo He, Emperor Qing. Sitting cross-legged next to the shadowy pool was a figure, none other than Di Fu. Di Fu stood up at this moment, smiling and looking at the two. Di Fu. Luo Feng smiled and nodded. He had a favorable impression of Di Fu, as Di Fu had stood by his side openly and covertly many times when Di Yang tried to suppress him again and again. Di Fu, have you been staying here all this time? Emperor Qing had a guess about this kinsman's thoughts. There are numerous crises beyond the source world, so I also wish to venture with you both, said Di Fu. Emperor Qing frowned slightly. Di Fu's strength was too weak. Even if brought along, he would at best serve as an errand runner. If you want to follow, I have no objections, Emperor Qing said. After all, they shared blood ties, and a sense of camaraderie existed over the long years. He looked at Luo Feng, but I'll need to consult brother Luo He. Di Fu looked towards Luo Feng. Those many years he stood by Luo Feng's side openly and secretly were all for today. If brother Emperor Qing has no objections, then of course I have none, Luo Feng said with a smile. Di Fu's face showed happiness upon hearing this. Emperor Qing nodded thoughtfully and said, since we're taking Di Fu, bring Emperor Ming as well. Of all the emperors in our flame-wind ancient country royal family, only these two are worth nurturing. Emperor Ming's strength is also above mine. On the path of the primordial bloodline, he has already touched the threshold of becoming a divine emperor, said Di Fu too. If Emperor Ming is willing, then let's go together. Luo Feng had a good impression of Emperor Ming and raised no objections. Upon hearing Luo Feng's agreement, Emperor Qing then sent a message to Emperor Ming. Soon, a flash of light descended into the valley, and it was Emperor Ming. Brother Luo He and I discussed it. We've decided to take both you and Di Fu, said Emperor Qing. Thank you, Brother Luo He. Emperor Ming was quite grateful. He might be aloof and independent, but he was also clear that his strength was ordinary beyond the source world. Back then, Emperor Ming gifted me the Calamity Beast diagram, which was greatly helpful to my cultivation. I have not yet thanked you, Luo Feng said with a smile and a nod. Di Fu felt very pleased on the side. At least he wasn't the only weak one, there was also Emperor Ming. Emperor Qing nodded, then let's set off now. An invisible force enveloped the four of them, and they flew into the shadowy deep pool at once. Emperor Qing had long had the imprint of the primordial space from the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm and instantly locked onto the distant Nine Rivers Sacred Realm. Wu! The light within the shadowy deep pool fluctuated, and Emperor Qing, Luo Feng, Di Fu, Emperor Ming, the four of them had already been transported beyond the source world, heading straight for the Nine Rivers Sacred Realm. This episode is end here.